There is a single voice that has accompanied you since the day you entered this world. It speaks prior to every choice, following every defeat, amidst every triumph, and in every moment of quiet. A majority of individuals spend their whole lives attempting to alter the world around them, while entirely neglecting the dialogue occurring inside them. They seek confidence through accomplishments, peace through belongings, and joy through the validation of others. However, the most significant battle has never existed outside. It has always resided within. The standard of your life is dictated by the caliber of your internal conversation. If your mind continuously highlights your flaws, your body will respond with reluctance. If your thoughts repeatedly insist that you are inadequate, your actions will silently start to validate that notion. But what if you manage to disrupt this loop? What if, for merely 3 days, you intentionally altered how you spoke to yourself, not with hollow affirmations or false guarantees, but with consciousness, focus, and honesty? A Shaolin student grasps that true transformation commences long before the physical body shifts. It originates in the mind. Each word you echo becomes a seed. Every thought you harbor turns into a pattern. Every pattern ultimately forms your character. If you desire to grow stronger, more tranquil, and highly resilient, you must initially become the type of individual whose internal voice generates courage rather than dread. For the upcoming moments, permit yourself to observe your own consciousness without judgment. Pay close attention to the phrases you have been echoing daily. Then, realize how modifying that conversation for just 3 days can initiate a metamorphosis that endures a lifetime. The primary discipline is to cultivate awareness of the vocabulary you utilize when addressing yourself. Most individuals never recognize this dialogue because it has grown automatic. It operates silently in the background, akin to a software program running for decades. Each error is chased by critique. Every obstacle is greeted with skepticism. Every failure acts as evidence that they are insufficiently capable. They perceive these thoughts as absolute facts, when in truth, they are mere habits. Patterns can be altered, but only when they are first acknowledged. Picture someone trailing you every second of your existence, echoing every phrase you utter to yourself. Would you feel uplifted by this companion? Or would you gradually forfeit confidence due to their relentless criticism? Astonishingly, numerous people treat themselves in a manner they would never direct at another human being. They pardon strangers much faster than they pardon themselves. They extend empathy to others, while depriving their own minds of it. This does not imply you ought to deceive yourself. It doesn't mean faking that every choice is flawless or every stumble is a victory. Genuine strength is constructed on truth, not delusion. Authentic self-respect involves staring directly at your shortcomings without letting them dictate your identity. You can admit an error without embodying the error. You can identify an area requiring growth without assuming you are worthless. For 3 days, practice modifying one basic routine. Whenever your mind declares, "I cannot achieve this," halt instantly. Substitute it with a declaration that is simultaneously honest and uplifting. State, "I am currently learning." Rather than stating, "I constantly fail," prompt yourself, "I have stumbled before, but I have also learned before." These aren't merely motivational quotes. They are balanced reflections. They tether your mind to reality rather than anxiety. Your brain pays close attention to repetition. Whatever you echo grows familiar. Whatever grows familiar starts to feel factual. This is precisely why pessimistic self-talk is remarkably perilous. It gradually molds your identity. If you continuously tell yourself that you are fragile, you eventually cease challenging that conviction. Your behavior starts to mirror it. Chances are dodged. Gambles are dismissed. Evolution becomes awkward because your core identity has already embraced limitation. Now, visualize inverting that mechanism for 3 days. Each morning, prior to checking your device, before conversing with anyone else, sit peacefully for a few moments. Draw a deep breath and state, "Today, I select patience over panic. I select awareness over reflex. I select advancement over perfection." These phrases aren't magical. Their potency stems from steering your focus toward the traits you desire to amplify throughout the day. Your mind will instinctively revert to previous habits. This is anticipated. Decades of conditioning cannot vanish in a heartbeat. The objective isn't perfection. The objective is consciousness. Every time you catch yourself speaking brutally inside your head, softly disrupt the cycle. Refrain from criticizing yourself for harboring pessimistic thoughts. Merely swap them for a healthier trajectory. Envision a gardener extracting weeds. The gardener doesn't grow furious whenever another weed emerges. Instead, they patiently uproot it and resume nurturing the soil. Your consciousness is no different. Gloomy thoughts aren't proof that something is fundamentally broken within you. They are merely signals that your mental garden needs regular tending. Countless people hold off until they feel assured before they start transforming their lives. Yet, confidence is seldom the starting line. Confidence is frequently the byproduct of consistently fulfilling tiny promises to yourself. Whenever you converse with warmth instead of harshness, you reinforce internal trust. Whenever you decline to believe your darkest thoughts, you diminish their grip. Whenever you react with patience rather than condemnation, you forge emotional steadiness. Notice how your physique responds to distinct words. When you quietly murmur, "I am a lost cause," your shoulders grow heavy, your breathing turns shallow, your vitality drops. But when you serenely state, "This is tough, but I can persist," your stance shifts, your breathing turns steady. Your nervous system starts reacting differently because your internal atmosphere has transformed. The ultimate warriors are not those who never encounter dread. They are individuals who refuse to let dread act as the narrator of their existence. Similarly, the toughest minds aren't devoid of pessimistic thoughts. They merely decline to follow every thought that materializes. They grasp that awareness breeds liberation. An idea might enter the brain, but it doesn't earn permanent lodging. During this 3-day span, observe how frequently you pursue approval from outside sources. Question whether you are addressing yourself with the identical respect you wish to acquire from the world. If your internal voice is perpetually antagonistic, external applause will never feel adequate. But when your connection with yourself turns harmonious, validation from others becomes less vital because your value is no longer leased from external opinions. Every hurdle transforms into a chance to refine this discipline. Sitting in traffic turns into a moment to select patience over annoyance. Committing an error turns into a moment to select education over humiliation. Confronting the unknown turns into an opportunity to select bravery over imagination-fueled terror. Routine moments evolve into training grounds for phenomenal internal strength. The intent of modifying your self-talk isn't to morph into someone else overnight. The intent is to cease blocking the path of the individual you are already equipped to become. Each compassionate phrase diminishes ancient conditioning. Each truthful word of support fosters resilience. Every deliberate thought carves a fresh path for your intellect. Gradually, the voice that previously confined you starts to direct you with insight, tolerance, and resolute self-respect. If someone you genuinely cherished approached you feeling shattered, defeated, or scared, would your initial reaction be to judge them? Would you highlight every blunder they've ever committed? Would you inform them they are incompetent, fragile, or doomed to falter? Absolutely not. You would communicate with patience. You would uplift them without ignoring the facts. You would highlight their power, their capabilities, and their capacity to recover. Yet, a multitude of people save this warmth for everybody except themselves. The bond you share with yourself is the most prolonged relationship you will ever navigate. Daily, your mind absorbs the phrases you echo. If those phrases are stuffed with judgment, disgrace, and relentless critique, your soul grows depleted before the morning has truly started. But when you commence addressing yourself with the identical wisdom, sincerity, and empathy you would extend to someone you profoundly love, your internal universe gradually morphs into a sanctuary of strength instead of friction. Speaking gently to yourself doesn't equate to formulating excuses or dodging accountability. It equates to transitioning into a wise mentor rather than a brutal critic. An excellent mentor corrects flaws without shattering self-esteem. They highlight what requires enhancement while reinforcing to the pupil that advancement is achievable. They comprehend that dread might extract fleeting compliance, but support cultivates enduring discipline. Picture a toddler figuring out how to walk. Each time they tumble, they rise again because the individuals surrounding them cheer them on. No affectionate guardian anticipates flawlessness on the initial try. They comprehend that stumbling is a component of education. Now, pose this question to yourself. Why do grown-ups demand perfection from themselves? Why do we assume a single defeat dictates our whole destiny? Somewhere along the path, many individuals swapped curiosity for condemnation. They ceased viewing blunders as tutorials and began viewing them as proof of their inadequacy. For the next 3 days, become conscious of the counsel you offer yourself. Whenever an issue arises, pause before reacting. Ask yourself one straightforward query. If someone I deeply cared for were standing in my position right now, what would I tell them? Then present those precise words to yourself. You might find that the advice you instinctively grant others is exactly what your own spirit has been yearning to absorb. When you miss a target, refrain from saying, "I am a disaster." Instead, tell yourself, "This effort didn't pan out, but I can extract a lesson from it." When anxiety urges you not to start, respond with tranquil assurance. You aren't required to be flawless to take the initial stride. When your brain contrasts your progress with someone else's, softly steer your focus by stating, "Their journey is not my journey. My duty is to grow superior to who I was yesterday." This pivot might appear minor, but it alters everything. Your intellect starts linking obstacles with development rather than peril. Your nervous system grows more relaxed because it no longer anticipates discipline each time you stumble. You cease expending vitality battling yourself and begin channeling that vitality to elevate yourself. Numerous people assume that being harsh on themselves breeds triumph. They assume perpetual self-judgment will forge them into stronger beings. In truth, ceaseless critique frequently breeds reluctance, nervousness, and self-skepticism. An individual constantly assaulted by their own thoughts grows terrified of taking gambles because every slip feels like validation of their inadequacy. Conversely, a person who manages themselves with dignified honesty cultivates toughness. They comprehend that defeat is data, not an identity. Reflect on the figures who have positively impacted your journey. It is highly likely they didn't motivate you by degrading you. They inspired you because they trusted your capacity to evolve. They pushed you while simultaneously highlighting your capabilities. Transform into that voice for yourself. Permit your internal conversation to function as a spring of guidance rather than devastation. This exercise also imparts humility. Conversing gently with yourself doesn't mean assuming you are above others. It means acknowledging that every person is flawed and evolving. Just as you would grant a dear one the room to develop, grant yourself that identical room. Advancement is never a linear trajectory. There will be seasons of forward motion and seasons of regression. Both are valid parts of the expedition. Throughout this 3-day span, generate brief pockets of deliberate self-dialogue. Upon waking, tell yourself, "Today I shall react with patience rather than panic." Prior to tackling a rigorous chore, state, "I might not grasp everything, but I am equipped to learn." As the day concludes, rather than obsessing over what crashed, ask yourself, "What did I execute well today? What insight can I drag into tomorrow?" These straightforward inquiries condition your brain to hunt for wisdom rather than self-punishment. Gradually, this method of conversing becomes instinctual. Your internal voice grows more serene, smarter, and highly encouraging. You no longer rely solely on external applause because you have discovered how to steer yourself with honor. You morph into someone capable of confronting hardship without crumbling beneath the pressure of your own reflections. The ultimate metamorphosis doesn't occur when society finally trusts in you. It triggers when you transition into the type of individual who can stand isolated in quiet and still address yourself with dignity, tolerance, reality, and steadfast empathy. A paramount illusion the intellect manufactures is the notion that you must feel completely prepared before you launch. Folks tell themselves they will commence exercising when they feel driven, start studying when they feel secure, pardon someone when they feel tranquil, or chase their ambitions when terror ultimately vanishes. They waste months, occasionally decades, anticipating the flawless emotional condition, but that instant seldom materializes. A Shaolin student recognizes that readiness isn't a state you stumble upon. It is a state you forge via action. The brain instinctively craves absolute certainty because certainty feels secure. It demands warranties before embracing risks. It wonders, what if I falter? What if society critiques me? What if I lack the talent? These inquiries appear logical, but when echoed frequently enough, they transform into transparent shackles. They hold you hostage at the starting block, while existence proceeds forward. The true tragedy isn't that individuals stumble. The tragedy is that countless people never launch because they mistake anxiety for a red light. Rewind to every talent you have ever acquired. There existed a period when you couldn't read, write, pedal a bike, or execute numerous chores that currently feel automatic. You didn't conquer those skills because you felt primed. You conquered them because you were eager to act as a novice. Every master was previously unpolished. Every self-assured individual once experienced doubt. Every disciplined person once battled erratic behavior. The distinction was never a lack of panic. The distinction was the choice to press on regardless. A Shaolin disciple doesn't train solely on afternoons when practice feels pleasant. Dedication is gauged by what you execute when coziness tempts you to quit. The core of training isn't merely to fortify the physique. It is to instruct the mind that momentum doesn't have to hinge on feelings. Some sunrises you will awaken, invigorated. Other mornings you will feel exhausted, scattered, or deflated. If your momentum depends entirely on your mood, your trajectory will forever remain unstable. But when your choices are steered by your principles instead of your moods, reliability becomes attainable. Many assume assurance arrives first and execution follows. In truth, execution frequently precedes assurance. Picture standing on the brink of an icy creek. You might waste an hour stressing over the chill, visualizing the discomfort, and arguing whether you should plunge in. None of that mental gymnastics alters the temperature. The moment of truth hits only when your skin breaches the surface. Life operates similarly. Infinite pondering cannot substitute a solitary brave maneuver. For the upcoming 3 days, dare yourself to execute one task before your brain gets the chance to manufacture delays. If a demanding discussion has been dodged, initiate it. If a project remains stalled, tackle it for merely 15 minutes. If a beneficial routine needs building, commence today rather than scheduling for tomorrow. The scale of the maneuver matters far less than the reality that you initiated it. Each tiny stride dilutes the conviction that you require flawless environments before advancing. Watch what unfolds after you launch. The duty that looked insurmountable frequently turns manageable. The terror that looked massive starts to contract. This occurs because the intellect magnifies unknown variables from afar. Once you step into the arena, actuality typically proves less intimidating than fantasy. The peak that looked unconquerable from a distance becomes scalable, one footprint at a time. Your biggest roadblock is frequently not the hurdle itself, but the narrative you spin about the hurdle. If you continuously declare, "This is unachievable," your frame reacts with reluctance. If you calmly reassure yourself, "This shall be grueling, but I can manage the next stride," your intellect pivots from evasion to participation. You cease obsessing over the whole expedition and start zeroing in on the solitary step you actually dictate, the one directly ahead of you. There will be instances when you trip. Do not translate those instances as proof that you ought to surrender. Tumbling is a segment of education. A sapling doesn't grow robust because it thrives in flawless climates. It grows robust because it weathers gales, downpours, and shifting climates. Similarly, your soul is fortified not by dodging adversity, but by confronting it with endurance and tenacity. Perfectionism is merely another strain of panic masquerading as elite standards. Countless people decline to launch because they require their initial try to be spotless. They overlook that expertise is constructed via flawed cycles. Each blunder holds data. Each regression imparts a lesson that triumph cannot provide. When you surrender the urge to be flawless, you generate room to improve. For the next 3 days, swap a single phrase in your internal dialogue. Rather than stating, "I'll tackle it when I am ready," state, "I will become ready by tackling it." That solitary adjustment shifts your entire paradigm. It reinforces that development is an engaged process, not a dormant one. It returns authority directly into your grasp. Your destiny is no longer dictated by how brave you feel today, but by the choices you forge despite your reservations. Ultimately, the individuals who reconstruct their lives are rarely the ones harboring phenomenal gifts or flawless environments. They are the individuals who cease negotiating with anxiety. They embrace that unease is fleeting, that defeat is an instructor, and that advancement belongs to those who are bold enough to start before they feel entirely prepared. The initial stride might be tiny, but it holds the capacity to redirect the trajectory of your entire existence. Every expedition toward insight, dedication, internal harmony, and enduring power commences identically with the straightforward choice to cease waiting and commence walking.